welcome to the Webcast for Sunday, January 12th. I'm South Ops meteorologist Jonathan O'Brien. We have another mostly sunny start to the day as a very dry air mass remains in place. Thankfully, we also see much less this morning in the way of smoke over Southern California as progress continues to be made on the Palisades and Eaton fires. We have Santa Ana wind conditions present this morning. Here's a look at our current wind observations with the wind gust values shown in red. Things are starting to wind down, but we're still seeing northeast winds of 20 to 30 miles per hour with gusts of 40 to 50 miles per hour and locally higher through the wind-favored corridors. Also take a look at the maximum overnight relative humidity values, and you can see that much of Southern California saw poor recoveries last night, with many areas staying below 25% and some staying in the teens, so it is a very dry start to this Sunday. Santa Ana winds will continue today, but we'll start to see them downtrend more substantially into this afternoon. By later this afternoon and through tonight, there will remain some breezy offshore flow, but wind gusts will fall mostly below 40 miles per hour. But unfortunately, we're still far from done with offshore winds. Take a look at the water vapor satellite this morning, and you can see a trough driving its way into northwest Nevada, and an additional one over British Columbia that is diving southward. With a ridge remaining in place over the East Pacific, it continues what's been really a relentless pattern of inside slider-type troughing and ridging over the ocean, which is a recipe for offshore winds here in California. There has not been any significant change to the forecast for Monday through Wednesday. After that brief lull in winds from later today through Monday morning, a long-duration period of Santa Ana wind still looks on track for much of Monday through Wednesday. I mentioned yesterday that event had trended a little bit weaker, but things have kind of settled out, and it still looks like a solid moderate event overall. Frequent wind speeds of 20 to 30 miles per hour with gusts to 50 miles per hour are likely, strongest from about Monday night through Tuesday night. I'll also emphasize again that for much of that Monday to Wednesday period, it's really going to be more of an east wind event than a north or northeast wind event, so a special heads up for areas like the Riverside and San Diego County mountains that are more prone to the easterly winds. Very dry conditions will continue as well. While some slight daily fluctuations are likely, there isn't going to be any substantial difference in humidity from today right through Wednesday. Overall, minimum RH will mainly be in the upper single digits to around 20%, and poor recoveries will be likely in many areas overnight. So it's not an exceptionally dry wind event. We're not talking widespread low or mid single-digit RH, but it's still a lengthy period of very dry conditions on top of an already parched landscape. High temperatures will cool a little into the mid to upper 60s over Southern California for the next several days, with mostly upper 50s to mid 60s in Central California. So it's definitely not a very warm wind event, and that's part of why the RHs aren't getting all the way down into those lower single-digit numbers. Finally, we continue to see some relief in the forecast by the end of this week. An area of cut-off low pressure offshore looks to slowly drift inland over Southern California or northern Baja by Friday. Thursday looks like a transition day with still dry conditions and probably light offshore flow at least to start, but by Friday and Saturday we'll likely see several degrees of cooling, a shift to onshore flow, and a large increase in humidity as that low moves overhead. However, while I still can't rule out some light shower activity during that time, the prospects of any rainfall currently appear quite limited, and so this looks more like a period of temporary relief than any long-term improvement. Fuel conditions remain a big story across the region. This long duration of dry offshore flow and the lack of any rain this season has dried out the landscape to levels we rarely see, especially this time of year. Take a look at the 100-hour dead fuel moisture for our South Coast PSA, and you can see we're nearing record territory now, at least approaching the 3rd percentile, and these graphs have about a day's lag to begin with. ERCs are near the 90th percentile in some cases, extremely impressive for January, and really it goes without saying that Southern California is just in an exceedingly dry state right now. So even though our upcoming weather is not quite as severe as what we recently saw, you really have to respect how dry our fuels are right now. So, tying it all together, high-risk conditions will continue today over the south coast and western mountains due to the windy and dry conditions, although the winds will subside this afternoon and conditions will drop more towards elevated levels this afternoon through tonight. The large fire threat will remain elevated to high from Monday through Wednesday. High risks are in place for the south coast and western mountains for Monday, and several PSAs for Tuesday when winds look to be the strongest. Wednesday still looks to remain a little below high-risk thresholds, but at least elevated conditions will continue, and even into Thursday it will remain very dry. However, fire weather risks will lower significantly by the end of next week as winds turn onshore and RH increases. Though as I mentioned, that may only be a temporary improvement due to the lack of expected rainfall. We'll hope for better news in the rain department soon, but in the meantime, stay safe out there. And that's it for today's webcast. Thanks for joining us. The next one will be on Monday, January 13th.